Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to talk about systems of inequalities and solving those systems of inequalities by graphing. So, a solution to a system of linear inequalities includes all points where the inequalities overlap. All right, it's all points that make both of those inequalities true. So, jumping right in here, we're going to graph each system of inequalities and decide if each point to the right is a solution or not. So we want to figure out if these points are a solution to the system of inequalities, so to both of those inequalities. So first thing we want to look at, when we look at our first inequality here, we have the less than symbol. This tells us that we are going to be dealing with a dashed line because we don't have the or equal to. So the line itself is not included, but everything that makes it true is. So we're going to go ahead and graph this on our graph here. So first thing I look at, I'm dealing with y is less than 2x minus 4. So I'm going to go ahead and plot my y-intercept of 0, negative 4. Then I'm going to use my slope of 2, so I'll go up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1, up 2, right 1. I could also go down 2, left 1. And what we're going to do is connect those points with a dashed line, since we're dealing with just less than. So we have a dashed line. Now, since this is an inequality, what we need to decide is which side of this line is going to be shaded, which side of the line makes the inequalities true. So there's a couple ways you could figure this out. One way is you could just plug in 0, 0 to see if this inequality is true. So it would be 0 is less than 2 times 0 minus 4. So it's saying that 0 is less than negative 4. That is not true. So what we would want to do then is shade our inequality to the opposite side of the point 0, 0. The point 0, 0 is here, so we would be shading this side of our inequality. Now, I'm going to change the colors of mine so that way I can graph the second inequality. So looking at my second inequality, the first thing I notice is I am dealing with a greater than or equal to sign, so I'm going to have a solid line. The line itself is included in this case. So then I'm going to graph this line. My y-intercept is 0, 1. Then my slope is negative 1/3, so I'm going to go down 1, right 3. Down 1, right 3. Or I could go up 1, left 3. Up 1, left 3. Then I'm going to connect these 5 points that I have drawn with my line. Again, it's a solid line because I have the or equal to part. And then I can do the same thing. I can plug in 0, 0. So I have 0 is greater than or equal to negative 1/3 times 0 plus 1, which is saying 0 is greater than or equal to 1, which again is not true. Okay, so I'm going to shade in the opposite direction of that. All right, now what I'm looking for is my overlapped area. So I can highlight this area right here is where my two shaded regions overlap. So that's where all the solutions are to both of these inequalities, or the solutions to the system. So then the next step that we want to take is to answer, is each point a solution or not? So we look at the point 4, 2. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. That's right here. That is a solution. Then we look at negative 1, 4. So we have negative 1, 4 is up here. That's a solution to our solid line, or to the second inequality, but it is not a solution to our dashed line or first inequality, so it's not a solution to the system. Then we look at 0, 0. That's not a solution to either inequality, so it's not a solution to the system. Then we look at -3, -5. Again, not a solution to either inequality, so not a solution to the system. And then our last one, 6, -1, is a solution because it's right there on our line. And since that is our solid line, it's included. So 6, -1 is a solution to the system. Taking a look at our next example, example number 2, again, we have two inequalities that we're dealing with. So when we look at the first one, the first thing that I'm going to notice is that I have a greater than sign, all right? I'm also going to notice that this is in a different form, so I want to be careful of that, all right? There's two ways you could do this. You could turn this into slope-intercept form if you chose to, or you can just graph the line in the point-slope form. So we'll just keep it in point-slope form. I know I can pull off my point. It's going to be 4, -2. So I can go ahead and plot that onto my graph. And then I know that my slope is -1, so it's -1 over 1. So I can go down 1 to the right 1, or I could go down 2 to the right 2. I could also go up 1 to the left 1, or up 3 to the left 3. Because 3 over 3 is just 1 over 1. Then, because we had our just greater than sign, we know that we're drawing a dashed line because the line itself is not included. So we can put our dashed line here. Then we need to decide which side of the line we're going to shade. So my personal choice is I always just plug in 0, 0. So I would have 0 plus 2 would give me 2 is greater than. And then if I plugged in 0 for x, I'd have 0 minus 4 gives me -4. Then I have times -1 would give me a +4. 2 is not greater than 4. So I am going to shade on the opposite side of 0, 0. So I would shade on the upper side of that line. Then we need to graph our second inequality. So again, I will do this in a different color. So first thing I notice is I have the less than or equal to sign. So this is going to be a solid line. I also have this not in a form that I want. All right, so we're going to turn this into slope-intercept form. So I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. So I have y is less than or equal to 3/2 x plus 1. So my y-intercept is going to be 0, 1. I can plot that on my graph. Then my slope is 3 over 2, so I'm going to go up 3 to the right 2. I go down 3 to the left 2. And I connect that with a solid line because it was less than or equal to. Now, we have been plugging in 0, 0 to see if that inequality is true to tell us how to shade. But remember that if we have the inequality in slope-intercept form, if it's a less than or equal to sign, we're shading below the line. If it would have been a greater than or equal to sign, we shade above the line. So in this case, we're shading below the line. So our overlap, if we highlight this part, would be right here. So then we need to finish the problem by going over to the right and figuring out if the point is a solution to the system or not. So we have 3, -1. So 1, 2, 3, -1. That is on our dashed line. So the dashed line is not included, so that is not a solution. Then we look at -1, 2. That is not a solution to either of the inequalities, so it's not a solution to the system. Then we have 0, 0. That's a solution to our red that we have drawn, but not a solution to the black, so that's not a solution to the system. We have -3, -1. That is not a solution to either of the inequalities, so not a solution to the system. And then we have 5, 4, which is in our shaded region, so that is a solution to our system. Remember, if you have any questions about solving systems of inequalities, please talk to your teacher so you can get that figured out.